The person who nominated Dr. Brown said he's a caring doctor who takes great care of his patients. Dr. Brown has a huge heart and deserves this recognition. Anesthesiologist Dr. Daniel Adam Brown at Murfreesboro Medical Clinic is our Heart for Healing honoree and receives dinner for two at the fabulous Alley on Main Street restaurant.
Submit your Heart for Healing nomination to WGNS.
Rutherford Issues with Brian Barrett on FM 101.9 and AM 1450 Murfreesboro, FM 100.5 Smyrna, and streaming at WGNSradio.com.
Rutherford Issues is powered by Middle Tennessee Electric, MTE's charitable foundation Sharing Change, funded by members who round up their electric bills to the nearest dollar each month as a donation and support hundreds of nonprofits. Find out more at sharingchange.org. State Representative Mike Sparks joins me in studio today. Came in on two wheels.
Man, I was running late.
Well, you made that coffee run, and that's what made you late.
It was close. I was talking to Pettis Reed, and I was thinking. I told Pettis, "Hold on, I'm getting a cup of coffee at McDonald's," and I use that little McDonald's app, save a little bit of money, get you a cup of coffee too.
Yeah.
Get the senior discount.
Uh-huh.
And I'm telling the guy, "Thank you so much for what you do." And then Pettis like, "Okay, I'll see you." I think Pettis thought I was telling him, "Thank you for what you do." And I said, "No, hold on, Pettis. I'm talking to the McDonald's clerk." But anyways,
he wanted to get off the phone with you, is what it was.
I love him. I think McDonald's got the best coffee, but. Anyway, plus it's cheap.
Well, that's the reason you like it, not because of what it tastes. It tastes like motor oil, and it was cheap. You'd drink it.
It's all good. How's things going for y'all?
I bet the coffee at the state capitol is not that good, is it?
It's not. But the coffee at the Capitol, that's the one gathering place. If you think about it from a political perspective, that people come together. Like just this morning, we were without coffee. Harold Love Jr. out of Nashville. He was helping me, and he was like, well, put that thing in here and do all this. And it wouldn't work. And somebody's like, hey, he's out of water. So they're like, the water's over there. I went and grabbed a big thing of water, and come in there. And another representative out of Knox County, Democrat, African-American, he hooked it up for us. And so, that's the one gathering point that everyone kind of comes to.
It's not the water cooler, it's the coffee pot.
Yeah, we do have a little bit of water up there, but everybody's just,
I'd hope
there's
so.
a lot of coffee drinkers up there. But it's well worth it because, man, you see the times we're in, you see the divisiveness. Pettis and I were talking about, I see so much butthurt. I thought about buying that. I think there's some cream that's called butthurt cream. I thought about buying some of that and just carrying it around for people that get butthurt all the time.
Not that I really want to explore this topic, but I can tell you, for those who have little children, that I found this when Dalton and Bobby were babies, and they had diaper rash.
Yeah,
and it's called Boudreaux's butt paste.
So I need to get butt paste,
but it works great for diaper rash.
Okay, I mean, seriously.
So maybe they have diaper rash instead of
the one thing. The one thing, when you have, and Pettis and I were talking about this, well, Chairman Reed, I should say, just engaging people more often, whether it's other leaders or teachers or police and fire, and not mean you're going to agree on 100% of the things out there, but just find things you can agree on and let's move forward with it, because this country, as you know, we're at a crisis in so many areas, unlike anything I've ever seen in the past.
Someone mentioned this to me, and it was an interesting use of words, and it's like you have people who are well-intended on both sides that may not agree on a lot of things, in their ideology, but then there are also disruptors. Yeah. And our government is being disrupted at all levels, even local levels. And so I thought that was an interesting take on it, not calling people disruptors, but that there were some that's how they were, I guess, approaching what they're supposed to be, as a lawmaker of some type.
And I'm not single out anybody, but I'll just mention Justin Jones. You know, Justin sits behind me, and we've had some great conversations about history.
Not to single out anybody, but Justin Jones.
I mean, Justin could be listening because I told him I'm doing a radio show, but he sits behind me. But he asked me the other day, hey, man, will you sign my blue book? Because we just got blue books out. In fact, if anybody needs any blue books, just call my office, 741-6829. They've just came out.
Blue books that aren't blue. They're what color
well,
this
now,
time?
they're blue this time.
Are they?
Not yellow or orange. Now, if you ever find the orange ones, they're getting kind of rare. So watch them. Sometimes they're at Goodwill. I mean, they really are. They're getting pretty rare. But Justin said, Sparks, will you sign my blue book? And I was like, well, who else is signing? He goes, man, just you so far. And I signed it. I said, you kind of remind me of me. Years ago, I was fighting with the mayor, fighting with the sheriff, fighting with county commissioners, and I said, but may God grant you wisdom and discernment, because we do have to have wisdom and discernment. I think when you're younger, I don't know, I think I just turned 57 last week, and just talking to Pettis just now, we were talking about Frank Caperton, and I was like, man, I wish Frank was still around to see, the Historical Society Museum they're working on, and thank you, Mayor Ketchum and Joe Carr for their diligence on that, and Pettis and other commissioners as well. But he said, it's funny you're mentioning Frank right now. He said, dude, I got a plaque in my hand from B&B Trophy that I'm fixing to put up on the wall here. I guess at the Historical Society. And over there on, it's the Ransom Schoolhouse.
Right.
And he said, dude, it's really weird that you're saying that. I call those confirmation or, God wink moments. And, I didn't know Frank was going to pass. I mean, I just done a funeral today for a 30-year-old that overdosed of fentanyl, and then got another phone call of one of my former church members. She found her son dead. Then I got another phone call yesterday. Somebody mentioned a lady that's literally in hospice care that had to go plan funeral arrangements for her son. I mean, it's probably in the obituaries now. But, you think, we're not promised tomorrow,
Right.
And we got so many problems out there. But one thing I'm proud of, our TASER study, you've heard me talk about our affordable housing, workforce housing study is coming out. Many thanks to TASER, Tennessee Advisory Council on Government Relations. Pretty long report. My assistant has seen some of it. She said that, Rutherford County is kind of highlighted because we have much lack of affordable housing, whether that's for police, fire, teachers, Nissan employees, whoever. And I'll argue we're at a crisis with that. So if anybody's interested in that, you can watch the TASER report tomorrow at 8:30. Just Google the Tennessee General Assembly, TASER, TACIR, to see some of the discussion. But that's not a Democrat or Republican issue, and it's not a divisive issue. It's just saying, what are the solutions out there for the crisis that this community faces?
Here's one that I've heard from so many people here in this county, and there just doesn't seem to be a good solution. And I guess maybe it's because this is the time of the year that they're having to pay these property taxes. But,
yeah,
I mean, the property taxes have continued to just go up and up. And I'm going to talk to Sheila Bratton tomorrow on the show, this Rutherford County School Board chair. I mean, they're proposing to build a new high school, and they built Rockvale for 80 some odd million, and it's probably going to cost 180 some odd million to build the next one. And so how is it sustainable? And I think the residents are just saying, I can't continue to pay to live here if it's going to, I mean, so what are the options?
Well, you use the word sustainable. It's not, or unsustainable. It is unsustainable. And that's the exact word I've been using for many years. This isn't nothing new to us, but you look, we've got an open border, and that fentanyl that killed those 3 kids in my community. I mean, I had to preach a funeral, look at the mom and the dad, and over the casket of that young man. And, they just didn't have I guess I'm the closest one that they know to a pastor. I'm not a pastor. And man, that's hard. You know what I mean? I mean, and I appreciate Highland Heights Church of Christ for hosting it. The boy's grandmother went there, and Helen Parker, I think her name was. But, it's just really, it angers me, but all the problems we're seeing, it really will play on you.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I've been a big proponent of school choice. I think if you want to homeschool, let it be your option. I think it's a liberty, freedom issue. The governor's for it. Is it going to solve all our problems? Probably not. But if it does free up some seats, because that's the situation, it's freeing up seats. I talked to a school board member this morning.
Well, how do you free up seats when you've got more people than you have seats for?
Well, I think that's why we got to get creative. My oldest boy, Preston, he skipped a grade. He put himself through Montlow during the summer, skipped a grade. That's not going to cure everybody, but just think if you'd done that for 3% or 5% dual enrollment where folks could go ahead and get into college. If they had been offered to me back in the day, I wanted to get out of school. I wanted to get my life moving. And I know it's not a cure-all for everybody, but the school choice, a hybrid program where there's some collaboration with homeschoolers and then you meet together, and they do that now, but not everybody's comfortable to homeschool. Not everybody can afford homeschooling. My wife and I, when our boys were young, which is, 30 years ago, we talked about homeschooling. She didn't feel comfortable homeschooling. So what my wife did, which I'm really proud of her, she became the PTO vice president for like 8 years. And the only reason she wasn't president is because she is really shy. She don't like to talk in crowds. And but she dedicated her life to not only my boys, but to all those children in that school at Smyrna Middle and Smyrna Elementary, and then John Coleman as well.
So all of that sounds great, okay? But people are still moving here by the droves.
Yeah.
It was something like between 1 year and the next, there were 2,000 students added to the Rutherford County school system, something like that.
Well, the school board member told me 800 this year, and here's what's interesting.
Okay, so maybe it was the last 2 years.
And this was after.
But that's the size of a school.
Yeah, it is. And here's what's alarming, and I know it's politically incorrect to mention it, and I mentioned it to the county commissioner the day, I mentioned it at the state. When we have an open border, and it's just a free-for-all. I mean, I'm half immigrant. My mother's from Scotland. She came over here legally. She met my dad after World War II. But if you got 800, and then somebody told me, well, Mike, you can't talk about illegal immigration. I'm like, what? You can't talk about illegal immigration? There's a thing called the Constitution, the First Amendment. And I know there's not much we can do at the local level about illegal immigration, but it is a crisis. It's a crisis because here's what it's done. All those goes back to trickle over to affordable housing, because you're seeing 2 and 3 families moving into a rental house, and the rental house may be $2,200 or $1,800, and you get 3 families in there. They can share that cost, and then go back on the school system. We've had pushback on school choice. Why do people push back on school choice? I don't understand that. I've been a school choice advocate. I was bringing it up as a county commissioner years ago, and we'd get resolution after resolution against school choice. Well, economically, cite the reasons why we're against school choice. Now, I don't want to see funds being taken from, Smyrna High or Siegel or any other school, but if it frees up those seats, which is, we're talking overcrowding is what we're talking about. If you think, it's all about seats.
It's going to free up seats maybe in half of a portable.
Yeah.
It's not going to free up seats in a school building.
Yeah. Well, my church, Parkway Baptist, they just added on. I was asking pastor last year, because, I spoke up for that charter school. He came with me. And I said, do you have enough? And when you're doing this plan, this build out on this church, why not make this just, okay, it's a school. Plan it as a school. Okay. Mm-hmm. And that they're doing that now. It's a homeschool, I guess you could call it, kind of a hybrid. It's home. Some of them are home, and then they meet together to collaborate. We've got to get back to that, in my opinion. Now, it's never really been done, if you think about it, but we've got to get creative. I had that legislation a couple of years ago that it was like a scholarship type fund where if you choose to take your child to go to the Catholic school or go to Providence or Lancaster, 10% of the money or 15% of the money would stay at the school system. You follow me? Because I think they can do it. I think private schools can do it more efficiently than the public school, and give the parents the choice.
Have you seen some of the campuses on these private schools?
No, but
they look like college campuses.
Okay, but let that be the parents' choice.
Well, sure,
if they want to do that.
I get that.
I love our public school system. I mean, I was raised up public school system. We just had the commissioner coming in last week, Commissioner Lisette Reynolds at Smyrna Middle School, our old high school on Hazelwood, but with the snow and ice, it got canceled. We're going to try to try to reschedule it next few weeks.
But people are, I guess, frustrated because they feel like they're just getting taxed to death, and what can be done. And, the local officials say, well, it's going to take state lawmakers to do something here and there. And so what's the answer? Is there going to be a coming together to try to fix the issue of funding?
It's funny you said that. I talked to Mayor Carr this morning, made a phone call to him. I've got legislation I was going to file, and I was like, hey, what do y'all think? My idea was to try to use some money from the college, the gambling and the lottery. They've tried to do what they can there. It sounds like that is just not going to be an option. And kudos for Joe Carr for trying. But it's all hands on deck, really. But if you look at the issue, it's schools. It's not really solid waste.
Isn't that like 80 to 85% of the budget?
That's what I'm saying. So if that's the problem, it's like my car out there. It's I end up tearing it up the other day during the snow and ice, and so the problem is my front bumper. I'm not going to go fix the taillights or replace the seats or the radio because it's the bumper that's the problem. It's the schools. It's 70 to 70% is education in schools. So freeing up those seats. But we've got to.
But there's also a state mandate that says
it is.
You've got to educate every child that comes through the door. So.
Exactly. But nobody mandates you not to have discussion. I've brought up for years, create a task force. People don't realize you got all these lobbyists out there. I had lobbyists fighting my affordable housing task force study. I'm so proud of it because it comes out tomorrow. But literally, people's tax dollars were working against my discussion about affordable housing. I can't make this stuff up, Brian. This is why I get upset with government, get upset with media. And I called out this morning emphasizing the media to cover the Tasser study because I got this new grandbaby. She's 1. And, we've naturally just, all over this our first grandchild. Her name's Grace. Remember she came to the world after my mom died, and, Amazing Grace was the bill that I had passed. So really proud of her. But is she going to be able to afford to even live here? I mean, thankfully she's got a safety net of family, but not everybody has that. But if I was the school board, if I was the mayor, I was Craig Harris Pettis, I would create a task force. And I'd get people on, former engineers, maybe a former school board member or school superintendent, Dr. Urban, the dean of the College of Business, dean emeritus. Bring these people together, a former engineer, bring people together and say, what are our solutions? And throw everything up there on the table. Like the gun violence, my bill was the tax exemption on gun safes. Now, is it going to solve the world's problems? No, but I'll argue that Kyle Yorlett would be alive today if that gun would have been locked up in that car that he was killed. And here's what happened with that. Those kids, that's going to cost the taxpayers $1 million to incarcerate those 2 kids.
Yeah.
But if the gun would have been locked up, we'd have saved $1 million. Now, would they have killed somebody else? Maybe they would have. I don't know. But is it going to solve all the problems? No, but it is a tool in the toolbox.
What tool in the toolbox can be used to more equitably fund? I think that's the real question.
I think even the home builders realize that they're going to have to be a part of this solution. They're going to have to be. They've got their hands. The county commission does have their hands tied. There's only the wheel tax and the property tax. But the main issue is the cost of those schools. We got to get the cost down.
Sure.
Now they got a supply chain crisis and all this other that's caused inflation, caused that school that was once $95 million to now be $150 million. That I've said for the past 2 or 3 years at the steering committee. But going back on these lobbyists, if I'm paying anybody $1 or $1,000 or $10,000, I want to know what they did. So I brought up the county commission. Require every one of these lobbyists have transparency to where they give a report at steering or some maybe budget. Here's what we done for you last year. And if they didn't do anything for you, I'd cut them off and save that money.
So we got to go. But how the county can't do anything with the way that they receive funds unless the state legislature acts. Is that correct?
Yes, that's my understanding. That's why we need more discussion, more folks coming together to collaborate on these solutions.
All right.
And we're doing that.
Be sure to tune in on Sunday nights at 5. Mike has Rutherford Magazine, so I hope you'll join in and check the podcast. All of the past shows are on WGNSradio.com, and check WGNSradio.com/listen to see where you can hear your favorite WGNS shows live and on demand, and even watch on Big G TV. That's WGNSradio.com/listen. Have a great day. We'll see you back next time.
Greetings, friends. This is Lenny Farmer with the Jennings & Ayers Funeral Home in Murfreesboro.